I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anyone before. When I was in middle school, I wanted nothing more than to be a speed cubing YouTuber. Now, for the uninitiated and the cool people of the world, speed cubing, if you don't already know, is a sport where you try solving a Rubik's Cube faster than your competitors. I started off with the humble official Rubik's Cube, the one that's super stiff and then you have to put like Vaseline in to make it turn faster. At least that's what we did back in the day. As you can see, I've elevated and I've committed to the bit. I have over 50 Rubik's Cubes, the majority of them collected during my time in probably middle school, which is when a family friend taught me. Actually, a family friend taught my sister how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and then she taught me because I begged her to learn because, who doesn't want to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube? It's like the coolest thing. Me being the unathletic, chubby kid for the majority of my life, I always gravitated more toward the nerdier things, so to speak. I always sucked at making friends back then. I still do, just part of my personality. I'm very introverted. And so I always used to hide my loneliness with intellectualism. I would take a cube, if not multiple cubes, to school every day, and I would solve them a couple hundred times a day, and it became one of the coolest party tricks, and I used to even try teaching some people how to do it as well, and it became what people knew me for. The jokes and the memes nowadays of like people drinking coffee and how that's their personality, their entire personality. That was me with a Rubik's Cube. I was a really lame kid. I wasn't an athlete, wasn't super outgoing, so I always struggled to make friends. The Rubik's Cube became not only a conversation starter for me, but it also became a coping mechanism in a way, where if I was ever alone, I was always the kid who was alone at recess, walking around the playground while other kids were playing basketball or tag or Foursquare, things like that. I would always just be the kid walking alone. But a Rubik's Cube gave me something to do. For me, I don't think the loneliness was the worst part. I think it was people perceiving you as lonely, right? It was people perceiving me as lonely, which I know sounds kind of weird. But with a Rubik's Cube, it looked like I was just doing something, right? It looked like I wasn't just walking around twiddling my thumbs waiting for the bell to ring. So it became a way to pass the time. It became a coping mechanism for the loneliness, for the social anxiety that I had, because it gave the outward projection that I was alone by choice, right? That it wasn't because I was too shy to go up to people and ask if I could join their game or whatever. But it was also something that I genuinely enjoyed doing. And I remember I would come home and I would watch YouTube videos for hours. Some of my favorite cubers at the time, cube tubers, I don't know, Rubik's Cube YouTubers. Anyway, some of my favorite channels were Crazy Bad Cuber, Cubix. I don't even remember anymore. It's been so long since I've watched any of their content, and I don't even know if they're still making content. But yeah, there used to be a vibrant, obviously it's YouTube. There's always a vibrant community for every niche, every hobby. Yeah, I remember coming home and I would watch their stuff for hours, trying to learn new algorithms or trying to see what new puzzles were dropping. I was part of the era when, if you're familiar, the Diane Zanchi was big back in the day. And I started falling off of cubing when they started releasing like the Panji and whatnot. Now, I don't even really know what the latest cubing tech is. Now they have magnets in speed cubes, which is crazy. I have a magnet cube, but not one of the top end ones. Like back when I started, Rubik's cubes like max were maybe like $15-$20. Now the top end cubes are literally $60 plus. It's kind of ridiculous, but I am tempted to get one just because I want to know what the hype is about. But the problem is I'm so slow now. I think I'm sub 20 on a good day. I think at my best, at my very best, I was sub 18 seconds per average of 5. Now I'm around 20 seconds, which, to the average Andy, it sounds really good. But I think the world record now is under 4 seconds. And I think that the world record average has been under 5 seconds for a while. So yeah, I have a long ways to go. I was just lazy and I never got around to learning all of my algorithms and then getting into the deeper, higher level stuff like look ahead and things like that and trying to force, now we're getting into nerd talk, but I loved speed cubing and I wanted to be like those YouTubers I saw. And I tried recording a few videos. I didn't have the best equipment at the time, but I remember I tried to record some on my dad's iPad or like my sister's iPad, and I tried editing it on one of those free editing apps. It might have been iMovie, actually. I should see if I can dig up some of those files. But I could never bring myself to upload it because I always felt like I was too slow or my content wasn't interesting enough. And I just let that dream kind of slip, even though it was really easy just to upload it and to just be done with it, right? Fast forward, I get to high school. I did bring a cube to high school every day because I still was kind of lonely-ish, although I did have more friends. But I didn't want to base my entire identity on a Rubik's Cube. I wanted it to be more true to myself, so I stopped trying to be the intellectual, right? The dude who was really insufferable to be around. I was a bit of a smartass, to be honest. But then I transitioned more into what like my genuine passion was, which was writing and the arts. And then that's what I became known for. I also could solve a Rubik's Cube, but that wasn't the main factor of my identity. The dream of becoming a speed cubing YouTuber just completely faded. My dream transitioned into becoming a writer, into becoming a photographer, and just becoming an artist in general. So I joined my spoken word club that I eventually became the captain of. I went to poetry slams, did okay here and there. We did team slams. And then in my art class, I was getting good grades. I was starting to freelance around junior year, senior year, started shooting like food photos for people. There was a family friend who had connections, and we ended up weaseling our way into shooting our first events. So at that point, my dream kind of transitioned from being a writer to being a photographer. And then that carried on into college, where I've always been interested in doing video, but I've never fully committed to the bit, so to speak. I was always just kind of testing the waters here and there. And I'll tell you another even more embarrassing thing. Now that half of you have stopped watching the video, I genuinely wanted to become a singer. I genuinely thought that I had something. I don't know what compelled me to believe this, but I think towards the end of high school and into college, I was doing these cover videos, and God, I hope you can't find them because I've unlisted them. I've privated most of them because a lot of them have copyright strikes because I was just downloading the backtracks off of YouTube and just using them straight up. They used to be on this channel, actually. I sang everything from Hosier's Cherry Wine to Bazzy and freaking Audrey Hepburn, if you can believe it. Moon River, wider than a mile. Like, yeah, I thought I was a good singer for reasons we'll get into another day. I realized I was not. I don't have it, right? Which is fine. So I used to make some of those videos. I used to upload them on this channel, and actually why I have however many subscribers I have, I think at least half of them come from singing, and former classmates following me for that. Before I took all those videos down and then started making like vlogs, which didn't last too long because I just don't really like vlogging. It's kind of a weird thing going around in public and doing this and talking into a camera. So then my focus went to journalism, which is kind of the path I'm on now. I went into college knowing that I like to write and I like to photograph things. But I tried the creative route. I tried being an artist, but I always felt super broke in those communities just because fine artists have a certain vibe to them that I never really meshed with. They were always really intimidating to me, still are, although there are some really good artists out there, some really good fine artists out there, good folks who aren't super snooty, right? Actually, the majority of them aren't. It's just that I have my own inferiority complex, and I just never felt like my work belonged alongside them, which is on me. But I remember the first day of journalism class, I just felt right at home, and then a couple weeks into the semester, toward the end, we had a guest lecture, and he said something that made it all click. He told us that journalism is just another form of storytelling, and he recommended that we approach journalism like we would fiction. Now, that's not saying write fake news. Don't do that. But a lot of the elements that go into writing a good story carry over into writing good journalism, compelling journalism, right? And so I saw then and there that I could use my words and my photos for good, and I could help people. I feel like there's the trope with every journalist and every photojournalist. You think you can save the world. You think you can save the journalism world. I fall into the same thing, but that's not the point here. So getting back to the whole Rubik's Cube thing and tying this all together, in a matter of 10 years, I've gone through so many different passions. I've gone through, wanting to become a speed cubing YouTuber, to thinking I was a singer, trying fine art, being an event photographer, now journalism. This is all just to say that when you're young, I'm only 23, so I'm not in the position to give you, I'm not the all-seeing eye. I don't know everything. But what I do know is that in the next 5-10 years, my interests are going to change again. I do have a journalism degree, which is one of the degrees that people most regret getting in college, apparently, according to MSNBC. And I'm currently looking for a job in the field, although that is not going so well, for lack of a better word. But yeah, who knows where my interests will shift, and who knows where I'll end up, right? What I'll end up doing with the rest of my life. Maybe I give up on journalism entirely. Maybe I go back to photography. But the point is, you go through a lot of different phases in life, and you're inevitably going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of different passions, and you're going to give up on some of them, right? Like, I have no interest in becoming a speedcuber anymore. I don't care if I ever reach sub 15 or sub 10 or sub 5. I'm not going for a Rubik's Cube world record. Doesn't interest me. Although I do love checking out the leaderboards every couple of years just to see where the world record is at or what new competitors are in the space. Sometimes I'll even watch a few YouTube videos, just see the new cubers. I'm not singing in front of a camera anymore doing covers because it's not something I find fun anymore. As far as my poetry career, I used to submit poems to publications every week trying to get published and trying to get my name out there, but now I don't really find value in that. I don't see myself as being that type of artist, and that's not something that I want to invest time in anymore. Although I still do love writing poems. I just keep it to myself. Same thing goes for fine art. I haven't submitted work to be displayed in a gallery in years. I'm not looking to have a solo show anymore. I'm not looking to be part of a group exhibition. It's just not something that I find brings me joy anymore. I remember there was a time in my life where I thought it was really exciting to have my work showed and to have it, potentially be purchased. And maybe it's because my work sucks. Maybe that's why it isn't fun for me, but I don't know. There is an excitement about seeing your work on a wall and having a price attached to it, which, it's really cool, but that's not why I make photographs. It's not my main motivator. And so it's not something I'm passionate about anymore. It's just kind of something that maybe here and there, if the opportunity arises, for sure, I'll submit some work, but it's not something I'm actively hunting for, And that's the thing. In life, you will, and I don't even want to say give up on, because I feel like there's a negative connotation to that phrase. And I always used to feel really guilty for some reason. I'd always used to feel bad that I'd spent years of my life on something like Rubik's cubing only to give it up, and now it's just something I do passively, right? I pick up a cube every couple of weeks, I solve it, and I put it back in the case. I'm never going to sit down again and do like an average of 100. I'm never going to sit down and try learning all the algorithms because it's not something that matters to me as much as it did before. So I would say instead of giving up, I would say it's just letting go of one thing just so that you can focus your energy on the things that matter more to you at whatever point in life you're at. But there's common threads that you'll see throughout your life. For all the things that you let go, there's always something that's, under the surface, or always something consistent, and a consistent element that sticks with you throughout your life. So for me, it's always been writing and photography. Ever since I was a kid, I've always, loved to steal my dad's camera and shoot a few photos here and there. And writing, since I was in elementary school, I started doing creative writing, and then my teachers started telling me to keep doing that. And their encouragement led me to start doing poetry in high school. And I did some poetry in college, but then, again, where I'm at now, journalism. That's storytelling, that's writing. It's the perfect place for me to use photography and writing to tell stories that matter. I can put my skills to good use and tell stories I can be proud of, right? So I think that's what you'll find. Over the years, I've let go of all these other things, right? I didn't even mention I used to love anime. Right over there, I think almost the entire Naruto and Naruto Shippuden manga, along with a bunch of other manga that I used to collect. That was one of my biggest passions for the longest time too. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I think a lot of that has informed the way I tell stories now and the stories I find compelling. I used to pour hours into manga and anime, but I had to let that go in order to start writing my own stories and to start honing my craft and to get out there and photograph whatever, right? I really do think that the things that you're passionate about and the things that you really care about will always have this way of coming back to you, no matter what distractions may stray you from that path or, will occupy your time for a certain phase of your life. And that's okay. Like, it really is. It's okay to have different passions. It's okay to explore different things. You're supposed to. I mean, how else are you going to find the things that you really love to do? As you navigate life, you're going to encounter a bunch of different hobbies and whatnot. And I think it's fine to have multiple. I think it's more than normal to pick up one, let go of another. That's how you find out what's important to you in life. But, we go through seasons in life. And the seasons change. So sometimes what's really important to you right now is not going to be important to you next year or 2 years from now. And that's fine. I wouldn't look at that as lost time. If it brings you value in the moment, go for it. Try your best and give it your all. I don't regret speed cubing. I don't regret singing songs and being flamed on YouTube because these things all taught me something. And I found community in doing so. And even if I'm not currently super passionate about it, I still have the memories, and these things all helped me kind of figure out what it was that I'm truly passionate about and what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I don't think it was a waste of time. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you for sticking around for the rambling. Gonna make more content like this, so like and subscribe if you want more. Follow me on Instagram at freshmanbrian if you want to see my photos. I also just started a Substack newsletter. I have no idea if I'm going to update it super frequently, but I enjoy writing, and there you can get more coherent thoughts. So sign up for that if you're interested. I'll leave all the links in the description below. Peace.